has a convoy of over 50 exotic vehicles as presidential convoy. He has the highest number of ministers. He has the highest number of special advisors. Why in an economy that is nosediving, is going down, can't you for once show empathy with the Nigerian people? That look, the people are suffering. We are also going to demonstrate that we understand what they are going through by cutting down on unnecessary government expenditure. But you don't do that. Instead, you are increasing it. Frivolous expenditures of any kind goes, buying vehicles of 100 and something million from Toyota, from foreign companies, when we have companies in Nigeria manufacturing the vehicles, which by buying from them, you are improving the local economy. But no, the middle class, a few dealers are what it takes to buy Toyota from Japan or even from the US. But we have Innoson, we have other motor companies in Nigeria that can produce Jeep for our politicians, for even the president. Why are we not patronizing? Why are we not funneling this money to the local economy? We are sending all the money abroad, buying every kind of luxury items we want.
You see, that is the problem. That is the problem. You mentioned Bola Tinubu has the highest number of ministers and aides here and there, and convoy. What do you expect? You have noted it much earlier. You've been sounding all this alarm that Bola Tinubu has never been. He was never prepared to be the president, to really lead in a very, very sincere manner. So he didn't prepare for it, and all he wanted is just power and absolute power. All he wanted is just to amass wealth and share this wealth within his cronies. That's exactly what he's doing. That's why he's broadening, even when the country is finding difficult, the country's economy is finding difficult to breathe. This man is still choking our economy even more by bringing in more and more liabilities, left, right, and center, employing liabilities, just like you noted, including buying things, foreign things, when we have the locally made ones that whatever you want to do, you are buying, like you said, we buy Toyota, we buy Mercedes, we buy BMW for our officials, including commissioners of police. I watch commissioners of police driving BMW cars. The IGs, they're all foreign cars, for God's sake. I don't know why Nigeria will always copy the bad part of the West. We copy so many things from the West, but the ones we copy are those that favors the powers that be, that favors the very less than 1% of the public, the Nigerian public. The things we copy from the West, from the Western world, are things that are not beneficial, that are not in national interest. They are all in personal interest. That is what we copy from the Western world. We copy the things that just aggrandize, that self-aggrandizes us. That's exactly what our leaders do. We don't copy those policies from the Western world that actually impacts positively to the national growth. No, just like this issue of go to all civilized countries, the US, you go to the European countries, you understand that all these governments, they patronize their locally made goods, vehicles. They don't do that. Including in the US, including the police, the county police, or everything. You all have. It's either they use Dodge or Ford or Chevrolet or what's his name, Ram. They all are American products. These are the products. They are restricted, limited to American-made vehicles. Go to Europe, the same thing. Go to UK, to be precise, the same thing. They patronize their locally made vehicles. But instead of us to copy this part, what will actually make impact, positive impact for Nigeria and for Nigerians, we don't copy them. Why can't we copy this patriotic aspect of the West? where they are compelled by policy to patronize their locally made vehicles. But no, including state government, local government, federal government, all of them patronizes. You hear last week, was it last week or last week? Was it Imo or an Abia State, whatever? They're spending 150 billion to import vehicles for government officials. Kaduna State, the same thing. Other states, federal government, of course, what do you expect when the father actually, what do you expect from the state? When the federal government actually does something, the state definitely will copy. Whatever the father does is what the children want to emulate to do as well. That's exactly what is happening. So you see, that is the problem. Look at Dangote. Dangote will be talking about local refinery by 100% Nigerian private refinery. Now we have achieved that through Dangote. Now, after building this refinery, spending so many years to build this refinery and resources, Dangote still cannot buy refinery. Nigeria has refused to sell crude oil to Dangote for refining purpose, for local consumption. I don't get it. Whether we are really cost, I don't know if Nigeria is really cost. Why our leaders keep doing what actually harms us. They only do what benefits them personally, individually, but destroys and damages the country as a whole. That is the point. Now, this man, Dangote, has built this refinery. Everybody, when they commissioned this refinery, everybody was jubilant. We were so praising. Everybody praised and commended Dangote for doing that. But now, the same company, our own locally made private refinery, cannot even buy. Nigeria cannot even sell. Refuse to sell, for God's sake, sell the crude oil to Dangote, because they rather take it internationally, because of course, we have some bureaucrats, some bottleneck that makes money out of international trade. They won't make much, if they will even make at all, by selling to Dangote. That is the point. Now, Dangote goes outside, including the US, to buy crude oil that will be used, after refining, will be used locally for local benefits. Yet, instead of government patronizing Dangote, we are supposed to have a policy that makes it mandatory for all locally made things, all local companies or local whatever, to be number one, the first line of action. Every company, every institution's first line of patronage before any other thing. It is when the locally made source cannot provide the service or the product, then we can now talk about getting it outside. But no, our own government policy is the number one priority, first line of action is foreign. Get foreign. If we cannot get foreign, then we can now manage the local. That they are putting, that is the Nigerian economic system. The Nigerian economic policy is putting the cart before the horse, instead of putting the horse before the cart. The reverse.
It's even senseless, because when you consider that, just like you mentioned Dangote's refinery today, we would have been happy that local refineries are coming up, not just for purposes of employment, giving employment to our youth, but for purposes of bringing down the price of products manufactured in Nigeria, the PMS, the other products associated with the refinery. But how can that be when he is sourcing his crude oil from far away US? When you take the CIF, cost insurance and freight, of bringing crude from US down to Lagos, where his refinery is,
he will
by the
cost.
time his production, when he factor it into cost of production, the price that he's supplying the fuel here is going to be high.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you can supply him crude from Lagos. So there's no transportation cost will be cut by more than 90%. So at the end of the day, when he produces the PMS and other products, yeah, the price will of necessity come down. But nobody is looking at that. So at the end of the day, what is the benefit of the local refinery to Nigerians? There's none.
None.
So you
Yeah, by
see
default, none.
the lack of sense in some of these things. I would have thought that anybody coming to rule Nigeria, first of all, we have a monoproduct economy by and large, no matter what people say of non-oil products. As of now, in the foreseeable future, we'll still have a monoproduct, that is oil. In order to lift up Nigerian economy, we must have a deliberate policy. Remember, our OPEC quota is about 2 million, 2.2 million. For the past 7 years, we have not been able to meet up that quota.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that production came down to 600,000 barrels per day.
Because of oil theft. Not that we do not have the capacity. Yeah, not that we do not have the capacity.
Because of oil theft, the crude was being stolen.
That is it.
Now they have tried to lift it above 1 million and something. Why is it not possible for us as a policy, as an economic policy, to increase production, to invest in the increasing production of crude oil, even above the OPEC capacity, and reserve that portion that is above for domestic use as a form of subsidy, so that the prices of petroleum products across the board, not just petrol, but cooking gas, industrial gas, and other these things will come down drastically and help the economy to reflect, to go up. Nobody is thinking about that. It can be a long-term project, 4 to 5 years, to increase production of crude, but the earlier you start, the better. The hard work that needs to be made, to be done, so that we can see our future tomorrow being better, it's not being done. That is what is happening. Which government is coming to lay the foundation for Nigeria's advancement? You don't see the policies. Those policies include this hard work. Okay, I will start this thing. It may not even mature in my tenure, but I have laid the foundation. Let the next government come and build on it. Let's increase. How is it that Saudi Arabia is allowed to produce 5 to 7 million barrels of crude oil a day? Compare their population to our population. Honestly. We have 200 and something million. How many people do they have? But you now go to OPEC and you share the petroleum quota based on the amount of crude oil, reserve crude oil you have. Yeah. You do not argue for your population, which is what you can use. That look, you may have this more than me, but I have a larger number of people to take care of. Yeah. And in the short term, we can produce even up to 5 million barrels. Not that we don't have, we can produce up to 5 or more. Yeah. If we invest in the infrastructure that will make that production. Yeah. Why can't we do that? To take care of this kind of population we have. So there's no hard work. It's just, it's as if we are already a developed country. They mirror the United States. You know, US spends money as if there's no limit to money. Yeah. They give 100 and something billion to Ukraine. It does not affect them. They do so many things, money, whatever the Congress amount they want, they can put. We don't have that luxury. The dollar does not belong to Nigeria. We have to do the hard work that will make us earn the foreign exchange that will make our economy to go. China was faced with a problem. Like I mentioned this on this show before. China was faced with a similar situation that Nigeria is faced with. Do we continue to be buyers of foreign products and be slaves to Western nations, now even Eastern nations, China and Asia? Or can we also come into that fray and begin to produce and sell our products? That's the question. But our leaders are not thinking like that. When China was faced with this problem, they closed their country.
That is it.
They closed the country and started their internal manufacturing.
Yeah.
They send spies across the world. See, whatever technology you come and bring it will protect the patent here in China. You produce within a few decades. Look at where China has come. They have now come to a position where they are comfortable to compete with the rest of the world. So they now open up their country. Even the opening up was in a measured way.
Yeah.
That they will not be overwhelmed by foreign competition. So now they have reached a stage where they can compete on multi-levels. They open up. They are now selling. We are even now doing buying as much from China as possible. Yeah. The trade imbalance between Nigeria and China is so high. Why is this not something that our leaders can think about? This is not rocket science. It's just mere common sense.
Honestly, Barrister,
it's terrible.
Honestly, let me be frank with you. You and I, we know that some of these things, just like you have brilliantly put, our leaders, they are aware of all these things. All this, what you just enumerated in your brilliance is just are things that are not, just like you say, it's not a rocket science. We have people in leadership that knows all these things, but the problem is corruption. The Nigerian system has been run by selfish individuals from the inception of the country. Unfortunately, instead of getting better, it's gotten worse. And with President Tinubu, who bulldozed himself, who stole the people's mandate, and declared himself through the judiciary, the corruption in the judiciary. The president declared himself the president, and through INEC, through INEC first, then through the judiciary, he sort of declared himself the president. It's even how do I put it? I don't know if there's a word. I'm really looking for a word to actually that can outshine what we can refer to as the worst government, the worst unpatriotic human being that will ever lead this country. I think that is just, Tinubu is the worst unpatriotic Nigeria that can ever, we don't know of the future, that has ever ruled Nigeria. That man does not have any sincerity of purpose. He does not have any iota of patriotism in his life. I think what he is doing is just deliberately punishing Nigerians. And that is why he does all his policies since he came in. His entire policies have been geared towards damaging Nigeria further instead of making repairs. That is just that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves with a very wicked and insensitive leader called Bola Tinubu. Barrister, I think let's move to the next topic of the day. Once again, viewers, as we move to the next topic of this show, we have been discussing about the Nigerian polity, everything about Nigeria on this show. This is Jubrin Angle. My name is Jubrin, and we have been having conversation with our erudite guests and regular guests on this show, Barrister Austin Manta. Once again, Manta, thank you for being with us. Now, the next topic we shall be talking about has to do with Kaduna State. You and I are very real, strong critics of Nasir El-Rufai, not for personal reasons, but for objective reasons, for sincere, objective reasons. And that is just like me. I always tell people something. Look, I do not have permanent enemies. I do not have permanent friends. What I have is permanent objectivity, principles. I have permanent principles. So if you are my best friend and this day you begin to do things the wrong way, I turn your enemy. So what I hate in people, I don't hate people. I don't hate personalities. I hate the vices in them. I hate their dispositions. I hate their actions. The day they turn away from those bad actions, I will turn the same 180 degree too, to begin to commend and to like. So even the devil, if the devil repents today and chooses to do the right thing, I will also begin to like the devil. That is the way I live my life. So that's why I don't have permanent enemy or permanent, I'm not a permanent critic of anyone. I criticize what your conduct, that's what I do, So, and that is exactly what I have, for several years, I've been a very strong critic of Nasir El-Rufai for all the vices you can think about, because he has a lot of them. El-Rufai, his arrogance, his pride, his bossiness, his abusive nature, everything, his corruption, his lies, his manipulative nature, he's just everywhere. Everywhere around negativity. So that is just it. Barrister, we all had what happened, the report from the State House of Assembly about Rufai. It's not a surprise to you, neither is it a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to several of us that have been following what's his name, Nasir Rufai's antecedents, his actions over the years. He's he's always been a hypocrite. You've always, as for the FCT minister, as a BPE chair, the DG then, to FCT minister, he has always been the hypocrite. He's always been, wherever he finds himself, he pretends to be fighting for the masses. He pretends to be fighting for the real thing, fighting for the right thing, while he is behind the scene, in the secret, behind the door, and within the closed doors, he is just looting and looting the treasury of whatever institution he finds himself heading. So, Barrister, what is your take on this El-Rufai story of where I think one of the assembly member actually rightly said, called it, is it massive looting? Is it mass? I forgot the word he used. Massive looting of the Kaduna State government.
Exactly. The report coming out from the House of Assembly Committee is not surprising to some of us, particularly those of us who have been in Kaduna State for a long time, who have witnessed the government come and go, and who also happen to know the man in issue, that is Nasir El-Rufai. It did not come to me as a surprise, and it has not come to a lot of the citizens of Kaduna and political watchers as a surprise. The man is a garrulous person, just like you describe, arrogant, self-conceited, and deceitful. He came, I recall that before he became governor, we had an association called Kaduna Progressive Forum. This was made out of, Kaduna Professionals Forum. This was made out of professionals, doctors, accountants, lawyers, in different fields. And I recall that he sent his manifesto to us to critique for the benefit of his government if he was elected. And we divided ourselves into committees and looked at some of the issues. We picked the issue of education, where his first priority was school feeding. And we noted in our priority.
Sorry, Barrister, can you please give me a break? Give me a minute. I need to bring in Onibio on the show. I think it was actually late.
Do.
Yeah, please, hold on. Sorry, viewers, we had to go on a pause to actually invite our next guest, but we seem to be having network issues, so we'll definitely get him on board as soon as we get the notification. Please go ahead, Barrister Manta.
Yes, I was making a very important point to underline my disregard um, for Erufai and his lack of integrity. We had an association prior to his coming into office when he was campaigning called Kaduna Professionals League, where we professionals came together to try to influence things. So he sent his manifesto to us to critique, and we divided ourselves into committees, education committee, to take care of the various aspects of his manifesto. The education, I'll just give one example for the sake of time. The education manifesto that he had, the top priority for him was the feeding of the school children. And we sat in the committee and look at it and said the feeding of the school children could not be the first priority in the education issue. Number one, the training of teachers ought to be number one. The school infrastructure, schoolrooms, up to today, there are children in primary school that are sitting under trees in Kaduna State. So we prioritize the training of teachers, the school infrastructure down like this, and we now put the school feeding among the last. But as soon as he came into power, what did he do? He abandoned all that. He went with school feeding because of the publicity it attracted, for cheap publicity and public relations. They started the school feeding. Within 6 months, the school feeding failed. Children who were not even enrolled in school were coming to eat and go back.